Hi, and welcome to Flosstube episode number 18. It is June 30th today, and my name is Geraldine. I go by X Stitches on Instagram, and my pronouns are she, her. This is my channel about cross stitch with a little bit of knitting and other crafting thrown in when the desire so leads me to do those things. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining me. If you have been here before, thanks for coming back. You know how this works. We're going to start with some finishes. I did a little bit of calculation for my 6-month stats. I have some WIPs, works in progress, to talk about, to show you, some plans, and then also a little bit of haul. And let's get started. So I track my stitching in my book of days. I have to admit I haven't been as great. I've had to go back in and fill in a little bit, so it's a little sparse. But if you have been here before, or saw my last video, you know that I was on vacation for a little while, so I took way more projects than I actually ended up needing. I think that's just the curse of the stitcher, and because you don't want to be left without something to stitch, but inevitably we find something, right? And anyways, I ended up kind of getting into this mood where I kind of wax and wane. I love all the things. I want to stitch all the things, but I get a little overwhelmed if I'm working on too much, or I have too much, like everything I want to stitch on. It's almost like it haunts me and I want to be stitching on it, but I'm like loving what I'm stitching on currently. So I don't know. It's complicated. So I'm sure some of you can relate to that feeling of what I'm stitching on right now I love, but I love all the other things in my WIP pile and in my that are kitted, and I just I feel like I've been in a mood lately where I've wanted to enjoy the stitching, but see some good progress on some pieces that I have, so that I can focus on another piece, then that gets progress and hopefully gets finished. We'll see how my mood changes. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 new starts in May. I had no new starts in June, so I kind of balanced that out a little bit. I did set a rule for myself this year that in 2023, hold on a second. I had a rogue Bluetooth speaker that was going to yell the whole time I was filming. So sorry about that. I'm going to try and film all the way through, minimize the edits, all those kinds of things. So what was I saying? Oh, so I set myself a goal that I would only have 23 WIPs at one time, and that I would have at least 23 finishes in 2023. It's a loose rule, but okay, so let's talk about 6-month stats. So since January 1st, I have had 19 finishes, so I'm well on my way to that 23 finishes. I think it's very attainable, probably will overshoot. I have not really started, I've done a little bit of holiday stitching, but I have quite a few like kitted ornaments and those kinds of things that I think as we get close to the Christmas holidays will start to call to me, and those ones tend to be a little bit smaller and quicker to finish. So knock on wood, we'll see. So 19 we're talking about cross stitch finishes. I have started 23 projects in 2023. That was completely by accident. I had no idea that that's where I was with my new starts. And then I currently have 21 WIPs, and then I have less than a handful of projects that are in like what I call timeout. So I don't have any like immediate plans to work on them or to start them back up. And a part of coming to you today is so that I can kind of catch you up on what I've been doing, because I hope sometime this weekend I can film a WIP parade. And what I want to do is I want to kind of touch on my projects that I have currently as WIPs and decide, are these pieces that I still love? and maybe try to whittle down that list, restash or whatever the ones that aren't my style anymore, that I don't think I don't see myself finishing or working on in the future. There's one in particular that I'm not going to get into it now, but there's one in particular that I know I want to restart. I don't have a huge start on it, and I feel a little bit differently about my color choices, so I want to restart that one. My very first cross stitch project that I started, I have not finished, and it's really not my style. I don't think. I'm going to look at it one more time, and I'm hoping maybe there's a way I can modify it to use what I have already done but not spend any more time on it. We'll see. So it's a benefit to you. You get to see kind of my whip stash, my whip pile, but also is a chance for me to kind of review everything. I have done a whip parade before, but this will be the first time I feel like I'm really evaluating like every piece that I have since I've started stitching. I am coming up on almost 2 years of stitching. I started cross stitch 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years in November. So relatively in the world of Flosstube, I'm a relatively new stitcher, but I started with my very first 16 or 18 count Ada project and like dove almost immediately right in. This project was one of my, it wasn't my first finish, but it was one of my first finishes, and that is a 28 count dark linen. And it was quite a challenge for me at the time, being a pretty brand new stitcher. Now I don't know that I would balk at it as much. It's amazing when you come back to something, how much easier it is once you have more experience. It just takes time, right? Okay, that was an unexpected tangent. In the first 6 months of 2023, I have had 10 days where I have not stitched. Most of those 10 days were filled with some other kind of craft. There was a few that I just didn't stitch at all, but for the most part, I've at least like touched some other craft in those days, even if it's just, you know, a quick few rows in a knitting project or something. So yeah, stay tuned for my whip parade, hopefully coming shortly after this video. I'll go over my stats again in that video as well, but that's kind of where I am for 2023 so far. Finishes. I have 2 finishes. One's a cross stitch finish, one is a knitting finish. Let's do the knitting project is on top. So Polka Dot Creek for Worldwide Knit in Public Day, they did this collaboration for the Creekside Yarn Festival, and they put these kits together, and it was a mystery striped yarn set, 50 gram with 2 minis. That was ice cream themed. So all of their new releases at Creekside Yarn Festival were ice cream themed, and so that's why the logo is on the bag that way. So I finished, you saw these last time, I think I had started one. So while I was traveling, I finished my 2 snow cone socks. So this was the mystery stripe set. I don't remember what color this is, but this was one of the minis. And then this cherry is the other mini. It's not quite the same color as the red that is in the socks. I like shorty socks, so these go just below just to my ankle bone. And I did so I cast on. I need to learn to do a provisional cast on, because I think I want to try that the next sock I do, to make it easier to like join my cast on edge with my knitting as I fold the hem over. But anyways, so I just started knitting, and I got the number of rows I wanted, folded double the rows of the height of the double hem I wanted, folded my piece over, and then knit together sorry, the cast on edge with the next row of knitting to get the fold over. And I like the effect that it gave me. It was like doing a peekaboo stripe double knit, but I didn't have to change yarn because the yarn did it for me. So, and then when I got to the foot, I had a couple rows left, but it was where I started. Like I started at the purple and I ended when the purple started. So I did a couple rows of the toe color before I was ready to start my decreases, so that allowed me to not waste any yarn and get two almost perfectly matching socks. So I finished the first one the second morning on vacation, and then immediately started the second one and knit that, you know, while we were traveling in the car when we had a little bit of downtime on the beach. I did a little bit of knitting on the beach, and finished these up in the airport while we were waiting for our last flight home. So that was pretty exciting. I have not put them on yet together. I put one on, the first one I finished, but I haven't put them on together because they've been in I just took them out of my bag. I haven't completely unpacked for my trip yet. I got back and went straight to work and have been working all week. So here they are. I'm excited to wear them this weekend. They're really great with my Birkenstocks because they show off the socks and they add a little bit of cushy warmth for in the house. I do have a decent amount of, oh my goodness, I don't know what happened in here. Eek. I do have a decent amount of the snow cone left. This is what's left of the 50 gram skein, because it was caked up so that you could start knitting immediately if you were picking this up from Polka Dot Creek at the festival and we're gonna knit in public. It was wrapped around, and I really liked having it like this with it kind of wrapped around its band. It made it really easy to just tuck it in my purse with a 9-inch circular and just knit a little bit when I had time. I didn't mention, I did like the normal, like every other row decrease heel, slip sit knit on one side and at one side, you know what I mean, and then knit together on one side on each side, you know what I mean. Anyways, and then did the same toe pattern for the afterthought heel that I cut in. That way it doesn't interrupt your striping, was the goal with that, instead of doing like the slip stitch heel. And then I feel like it makes it easier to just knit until you have enough rows to go to the toe. And then once I kind of knew how my striping counted out with the first sock, it was a lot easier to I still counted all of my rows eventually, but I kind of knew where I was at because I knew I wanted them to match. And so anyways, my daughter wants a pair of these snow cone. I ended up buying another skein from Polka Dot Creek. I think I could probably get, it would be close, but if I was good, I could get another set for her. It's a little bit smaller out of these, but she likes a higher cuff than me, and with this pattern she wants like a tall cuff. So I got that 50 gram skein will be enough for her to have some big high socks, and those will be fun for her to wear. And for my knitting or cross stitch finish, I had in my Canadian flag bag that I got from Evertote at Stitch North. This is a Stitcher's Heart with the beautiful Roxy Flossco flosses. This piece is available on Saturday, July 1 at some point. Caroline said yesterday she wasn't quite sure what time this is going to go live. This becomes available to anyone to order from Evertote instead of, it was exclusive to Stitch North Stitchers until tomorrow. And I forgot to grab my board. I will make do with what I have. Okay. So this piece was, I stitched on a few pieces at the beginning of my trip, and then once I started this, I felt like I could get a finish while I was on my trip, and thought that would be fun. So here it is. I finished it on our first plane home. I had like a little bit of the urn and some of the scissors and the last few buttons to put in. So I enjoyed it. I again took it right out of the bag that it was packed in, so I didn't have a chance to iron it yet. I do want to finish it the way that Cheryl designed it to be finished, or suggested it to be finished in the pattern, which is as a heart-shaped pillow. And so the pattern has the outline for your pillow, so that if you stitch it on 32 count, you have the right size pillow for it. And I can't remember, the called for is Panettone from Roxy Linen. I can't remember. While I was standing in line, I remembered that I was thinking I would start it at Stitch North. I did not end up starting it at Stitch North. So while I was in line to pay, I grabbed a 32 count piece of linen because I didn't bring linen with me for it. I knew I was probably going to buy the pattern in the floss pack, but I didn't, like I said, I didn't bring the linen with me for it. So I grabbed one from the beautiful linen table that I thought would go well. So, and I set the tag somewhere. So that might be Panettone. It might be a one-of-a-kind that's very similar to Panettone. It looks like it's Panettone. I'm going to say Panettone one more time and then be done. So FFOs are on my list this weekend. I have a 4-day weekend coming up because I decided to take Monday off and Tuesday is a holiday. We'll see what happens. No pressure. But I have a craft room. It's been a hot mess for a while and it needs some love. But that means I have to stop stitching or creating to do that. Okay. I went out of order. I already did my 6-month stats. That's totally cool. Let's do some whips. Okay. Maximum cross stitch. You've seen this. If you've been here, you know this piece, the Friendship Sampler. This is Ellen's sampler using the called for Waxy Floss Co. floss, with the exception of I added a purple for some of the accents that I wanted purple things because I like purple. And so slight modification. This is really designed by Ellen to be modified and made your own. There's pieces in it that, ooh, I've got like a rogue piece of floss just like chill and on a needle, which is not typically it's not my typical MO. I usually finish a floss before I stop. Anyways, so I have had the house done since a little bit after Stitch North. I've left this alphabet unfinished for a while. And so what I did, since you've seen this last, is I had like the first few flowers here up this side, and I have almost all of the flowers here. If I remember correctly, I think I'm about 48% done with this piece. And I was trying to get this done before Sampler September. I'm not sure if that will happen. I'm trying to give myself a little bit of grace with that and really stitch on it when I'm enjoying it, which I really do enjoy. These flowers are so fun to stitch and I love the colors and everything with them. So, and I chose, instead of the called for, which I think is Dirty Porcelain, I'm not going to take the time to look. I'm using 36 count Odd Duck by Roxy Floss Co. Okay. I'm just going to, not going in the order that I stitched. I'm just going to go in the order that they're here. So, ooh, excuse me. I've had a full day of work, so my voice box has already been busy. This next piece is by Stacy Nash. It is in my Gilmore Girls bag by Sheba Designs that I picked up at Stitch North. She is beautiful, both vinyl front project bags and full cloth project bags. This project is Caroline's sampler. It is, like I said, a Stacy Nash. It is not Caroline's sampler. It is Caroline's sampler pouch. I was close. So this was a homespun Facebook group exclusive from earlier this year. So it comes fully kitted, including the wool to finish this into a bag. And I've done a little bit more work on the fill-in that I've had. This was really great for on the plane because I could just not pull out the pattern and just stitch. So since you've seen it, I filled in the steps, I filled in the blue house, I got the window in, did a few more bricks over here. And then I did do some counting down at the bottom. And so what I wanted to do is leave myself just enough allowance to do the seam here, like for the pouch, because I wanted to separate. So the bag is folded just underneath the grass. And then these motifs are upside down because they're the other side. Like this is actually like the top lip of the bag. Let me see if I can show you. Nope, I lied. It's not. It's like the inside lip of the bag, which you can't see on either of these pictures. So the house is actually, I think this is actually upside down. Like it doesn't matter. Anyway, so I wanted to see if I would have enough linen so that I can make it a little bit of a tiny box when I finish it, like a box bottom. So I am not going to, I'm going to count, I decided where this edge needed to be, and I'm going to count this way for the pieces that belong here. So that leaves me more of a gap between where you would fold so that I can make it have a little bit of a bottom. And then I'm going to, I don't think it calls for interfacing. I'm going to put some interfacing or something with a little bit more stability to get that bag. I like my bags with a little bit more heft to them. This is one of my bags. If you've seen, I finished this a few months ago. It's just wool and it has no stabilizer in it, and it's beautiful and it's great, but it's not very, like, it just is a little flimsy. So I do want to add some stabilizer, and that has like the box corners like I was talking about. So anyways, slow and steady. That house is huge. It's way bigger than I thought it was, based on the picture. And there's a tree on each side of it. I mean, it's a lot. So, but it's cute and I like it, and it will eventually get done. Save the knitting for a second. Okay. I'm gonna go a little bit out of order. Order of the pile. There really is no order. So the next one, unless you're living under a cross-stitching rock, maybe you are, maybe cross-stitch is something you're just learning about. You've heard about Jacob's Reaching Skyward, the 2023 stitch along. I was doing really great at the beginning of the year, keeping up. I think I might technically be behind, but I was trying to work ahead. You know, it is what it is. I got a little bit burnt out on this piece trying to work ahead. I picked it back up and fell in love with it, and then went on vacation and didn't take it with me because it was too big. I just didn't think it was the kind of piece I'd work on. But I finally got in a rhythm with how to do this medallion to make it a little bit easier. So anyways, here, I'll show you what I have so far. So I'm on the medallion, and I did go down a little bit more, and there's just a little bit more after this bottom piece here to do. But I have like border to bring down over here. Like there's a lot to go. I'm almost 50%. But I figured out that if I outlined the negative stitching, meaning if I outlined the white spaces with the blue floss and then went back in and filled across in lines to the outside of the circle, if that makes sense, then it was a little less like constant counting. And then I just have to figure out, like, when I have a row that has like one of those little dots in it, then you gotta count for that. But that made it a lot more fun for me. And then I was able to put in some of the brown. Stitching this on 36 count porcelain with Great Lakes, maybe? I don't remember. A beautiful navy-ish blue, variegated blue. And why am I like blanking on this? I'm like, I don't need to get this out. I've been telling you about this for months, and why can't I think of what the floss fillers are called? It is Amaretto is the brown or the tan color, and then Seize the Day is the blue that I picked, I think, which is a little bit lighter than Great Lakes, or a little bit darker. Now I don't remember that either. And this kind of just looking at my project reminds me, am I the only one? Tell me if you do this. So this project, it's 2 colors. It takes stitching it over with one strand over 2, and it takes like 7 of each color-ish, roughly. I think I probably have more than that. Does anyone else like save their cards as like badges of honor? So like when I get done with a floss card full of floss, like I don't throw it away. Like I put it in my project bag as like a collection. Look at all of my empty floss cards that I've already used up floss for. I don't know why it gives me like an odd sense of satisfaction as I like count them down. Okay, so that was Reaching Skyward. I'm excited to get back to that at some point. But there's other things that are calling me. Okay, so Letters from Europe, Hands Across the Sea, Nicola's 60th birthday box. I got that. If you're interested, you have no idea what I'm talking about, I have a video in my playlist that is in the unboxing of that, and I go through all the samplers and other gifts that were in there. Barry from Stitch Folk did a beautiful project bag. I had just bought a project bag from Barry when she announced that those were going to go on sale, and I was very, 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 very tempted, but I resisted and told myself that I'm more than capable of making myself my own project bag. So I took the card that Nicola included. I would never do this to sell or to give away. Like, it's just for me. But I took the card and I copied it to make like a not screen printed, but I did like an iron-on transfer of the card, which, you know, didn't go great, but it gives it an antique feel, right? And I didn't ruin my iron, but I came real close. Anyways, and so then I like framed it with some red fabric and then used this French General fabric that I believe I got on 123 Stitch to create a project bag. I used Elizabeth Ann Can Stitches, I believe, tutorial for how to do the bag with the bag that doesn't have the zipper at the top but has this like little border piece that isn't vinyl front. So what is in here, do you ask? So this is my bag that I have kind of set aside for the letters from Europe. There were a few pieces. All of those samplers were great. There were a few pieces that called to me. The two that I love the most took a while to get the 103s that I wanted, that were called for. So this was like my third choice, I think, out of all of them. And it's Hilda Weiner. This is one of the two Austrian samplers that were included. The other one that I really loved was the one from, well, I lied, there's four, because I love both the ones that stand out in my mind are the two Austrian samplers, the one from Brussels, Belgium. It wasn't from Brussels, it was Bruges. So Bruges, Belgium, where I traveled after high school for our trip when we went to Europe. And then the one from France, Mathilde. That one's my favorite. It's red and blue and it's gorgeous. Anyways, so I started with Hilda. And what's unique about Hilda is that I am stitching it with my very first 56 count. So this is my bag from Hobby House that their linen comes in. It's when I was going on to get Tabby Cat, which is the called for this piece, it was hard to get a lot of the Tabby Cats because everyone was trying to buy their letters from Europe linen. But I was able to get a piece of 56 count Dead Sea Scroll from Seraphim, which I have another piece that I got from Jeanette Douglas class through Acorns and Threads of Seraphim. It's 36 count, not 56, but Seraphim fabric is great. And I had the SWA 103 for this, so I'm using SWA 103. I've never had this I haven't used a ton of SWA 100, but like without much use, the little bottom piece fell off. Like it cracked and broke. So this is SWA 103 in the color 109. And this is how far I am on Hilda. And it is super tiny. It is a little full, but I like it. I think it's okay. I think technically with 56 you're supposed to use Surfine. I think Nicola uses 56, so that maybe it's okay. But if it was Katie, she would say I should be using Surfine. One tip that I did learn from Katie Strachan, so the reason I wanted to start this one too on 56 count was because, you know, Brenda and Laura and Katie and the whole bunch went to the attic recently and they were talking about all their tiny stitching. And then there was someone at Weekend 2 at Stitch North that was big into tiny stitching. I think that was 56 count 1/1 though, which is not what I'm ready for yet. Anyways, that really was like, I really need to start a piece with 56 count. I was nervous. I didn't think I'd love it so much. So one of the tips was Katie uses size 12 tapestry point beading needles. They're so weird because they're super flimsy and little, but it has made a big difference. I feel like I was using just my size 28 Sullivan's ballpoint. It was working okay, but it wasn't great. This makes it a lot easier to find the holes, but I find I'm not really splitting threads much. And it's just really interesting how much I love this because it is all the things that I didn't think I liked about cross stitch. So it's super tiny. I have to wear special glasses. I can, with good light, just use my readers that I use like for 40 count and above. And but I can't use the sewing method, which is how I prefer to sew. I have to poke and stab because it's in this little tiny hoop, and I was traveling, you know, I had to like poke and then bring, so it's slow and it's persnickety, right? It's 56 count, so you really have to pay attention. I've learned a lot, and am doing better about like not skipping a thread, but some of these threads, when they're so fine, it's easy to miss and actually go 3 over, and then you got to pull it back out and fix it. But it's going really well. Again, like I said, I'm really enjoying it. And I didn't think if I knew that I couldn't use the sewing method when I started, I may not have started. But for whatever reason, I'm really enjoying this. I haven't tried stitching two-handed yet with it, just because I've not had a frame to hold it for me so that I can do that. So that's Hilda, and I love her, and I want to keep working on her. I can't wait to get into the alphabet. It's just really pretty. So Susan Stanley, I just discovered, have started watching. We'll talk about her a little bit later some more. She has a marking sampler in like her 1840 sewing basket. I'm not sure that Hilda applies. Technically, she's from 1908, and I don't know with the size if it'll be like one that I would like put a ribbon on and roll up, but that's an idea of that has been calling to me. So we'll see if that ends up happening. But I'm really trying not to start. There's a lot of things I want to start. I'm really trying not to start anything because I really want to work on the pieces that I've started that I love. But like, why does it matter? I don't know why it matters, because it's either sitting in my stash or it's sitting in my whips. Like, technically, they're both. I don't know why. It feels like once I start it, it's like there's like more of a commitment there than when I've just spent a bunch of money on it. Who'd have thought? Okay, this one is an oldie, but a really goodie. So I have one more whip that I forgot that I was working on that I didn't show you before I get into this one. So I got home from vacation, and I randomly have not picked this one up for a very long time. I think I might have her fairly handy. Talk amongst yourselves. Yes. Lucy Barber, the Traditional Stitches exclusive for their... It's just an exclusive because they wanted to do one. I was thinking it was an anniversary or something, but it's not. It's gorgeous. I got this when it was an exclusive earlier this year. I have the SWA 103s that are called for it. I can't wait to use this blue. Like, Blair's bet. That's my kind of blue right there. And anyways, I worked on it one day, and then I haven't picked it up again because I've been, again, wanting to focus on other things. So I did a little bit more work. Just one night's worth, not a ton. This is on the 40 count, called for Tabby Cat. I feel like sometimes with, there it is, Wood Smoke. Sometimes with Hands Across the Sea, like depending on the format of their chart, it's hard to know. Like, you got to read through all the information to find where the linen, called for linen, is. So I had this flower outlined and mostly filled in, so I did a little bit more fill in with that. I filled in the inside of this basket. I did the light green through the leaves in here and kind of extended this dark green over a little bit more. And then I started this tree here. So just a few hours one night after I had worked on Hilda for a little while. It was fun to get this out. I love working with 103. That's all I really want to say about that for now. It'll come back out. I almost kept going on it. Like when I put it down, I was like, I'm keeping this out. And then I got a wild hair to take this piece out, and I'm really glad I did because I really enjoyed it last night. So another thing to tell me about, those of you, if you work, if you don't work, I guess it doesn't matter, but as a working adult, out of the home, I have nights where I'm like, okay, it's time for bed, and I go to bed, and I know like it's gonna be a payoff in the morning to actually go to bed at a decent time. And then there's nights like last night where I was in a groove. I had made some good progress on this piece, and like I was mad. Like I was like mad that I had to go to bed, and to the point where I stopped stitching at like 11:15 ish, And then I was like, okay, well, before I put it away, like, where am I going to go next? Like, I kind of want to do, like, and so I'm like looking at what colors are the alphabet, and I'm looking at that. And it was midnight, and then the power, like, a storm came through and, like, was gone, but then the power went out, and then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to bed now. The power is out. So I got ready for bed in the dark, like the real dark. And, yeah. So does that happen to you? Like, where you're like, I just get mad that I have to be a grown up, and it's fine, and I go to bed and I get over it, but I'm like, I don't want to go to bed. I want to stay up and stitch all night long, or at least until I want to stop, not because I have to stop, because I know I have to get up in the morning. I got up in the morning, I did my thing, it was fine, but without having power this morning, it was a little bit of a rough morning. Okay, what am I talking about? Turkish Delight, Rosewood Manor. This is that really crazy bright piece. I looked at this piece. I think I first saw it when Carrie started stitching and it went up on the Evertote website, and I was like, who's gonna, like, that is Nema style. Like, it's beautiful, but, like, I don't see having a bright pink piece of linen on my wall. Like, it's just not me. It's gorgeous, though. And then Carrie showed her piece and her color conversion. And I fell in love because it is teals and purples and greens, and it's amazing. So here are her colors, that Roxy Flosco colors that she did the conversion for. There's lots of different teals in there, which are the alphabet, which I was super excited about last night. So if you know Rosewood Manor, you know there's a lot of color change. And that wasn't something I was prepared for when I picked up my first Rosewood Manor. And because I like to, like, stitch and go, and I like to use a full strand of floss and, like, all of those weird nuancy things. I'm getting better. I have a system. So I made this little, like, thread keep that has a pocket so I can insert a card. So I have the conversion names with the symbols, and then I have, like, I can stick needles in here with all the different colors threaded. So that makes me feel a little bit better that I have a bunch of needles that I can do that with. But anyways, so when I put this away last night, I got to a point where I finished, I'll just show it to you, and then we can talk about kind of where I want to go and why I was excited why I didn't want to put it down. Okay. So here is where I am so far. I'm stitching it on 46 count porcelain, and what I did last night was I had from here up to, like, here done on the border, but it was just one, it's double here, it was just one. So then I did one row all the way around, and then went back and, like, made it two, filled it in. Once I knew the counting was right, because I didn't want to spend a ton of time filling in double row and then find out that I counted wrong and have to pull it all out. So that's how my brain works. Anyways, and then I filled in some of the ochre here to try and get these, like, some of those were missing ochre. So I was starting with, I tried to do, like, each element and then move to the next color. But then I wanted to see what these flowers looked like. So I had these done. So I need to go back and, like, finish the center motif. So I really should just finish the center motif. It's a little bit more than a page finish when I get this done. But I figured out that if I count from, am I on the right side? Yes. If I count from here, I can count just a few stitches over and then count, like, famous last words, because this could turn out fabulous. This could get me into some big trouble if I miscount. So, and I have enough experience now that I'm not going to be cocky when I do this. I'm going to stop. I'm going to take my time, count it 5 times, make sure it's right, use counting pins, because also on 46 count, right, it could get me into trouble pretty quickly. And there's nothing worse than miscounting or being like, I feel like sometimes you can fudge it if you're, like, 2 threads off, if you're, whole stitches off, but when you're, like, partial stitches off, no bueno. So anyways, so I can, like, start stitching here and work my way up to this border and then jump over and then do this bit of the border, just the dark color. It's Great Lakes. And then I would have available to me at that point the alphabets. I would know where they belong. the alphabets, the letters in the alphabet. I would know where they belong. And then if I felt like I needed some comfy quality stitching, that wasn't the word, comfy, consistent one color stitching, I can come up here and kind of slowly work on the alphabet. And then I started looking at this border and like what colors carry conversion makes this border, and I fell in love some more. And then I was looking down here at these beautiful like leaf borders and like the colors that those will be, and they're also teal, and I'm like, I have to stitch these right now because these like that's why I got mad, because I really wanted to keep going. So I can probably tell you that I won't finish the center medallion before I move on and have the letters of the alphabet available to me to do some like more chill stitching when I don't feel like counting quite so much. So that is staying out. My hope is to put it away until I'm sick of, or to keep it out until I'm sick of it, because right now I'm not sick of it and I want to see it done because it's gorgeous. Carrie, I just can't even stop raving about the colors. All right. That's all of my the things that I've worked on since we've chatted last. As far as my whips, I have one knitting whip to show you, which looks like a whole lot of nothing. So I have been playing with sock tubes and making them into socks, which is what you do with a sock tube. So these are cranked on, these ones are from Polka Dot Creek. So they have an Earl Blocker speedster that in their shop that they charge a fee for, and they will send you the yarn that you order pre-cranked into a tube with your mini to do your heels and toes and cuffs. And so I've been experimenting with different things. Last time we chatted, I had finished a pair in this colorway for myself, and my daughter is going to get the other. It's not a half. It's a little less than a half of a sock, and I have a little bit extra left. But anyways, she wanted like I like shorty like below the ankle bone. If she wears shorties, she likes them to cover her ankle bone. So they're going to be a little bit taller. And then for mine, I knitted up and did a peekaboo cuff. For hers, I just started with where the end of the sock tube was, folded it over and grafted it in, which went fairly well. I must have miscounted. These cuffs are slightly different size. They'll be fine. She won't notice. It's fine. No one will notice. I don't know what happened. I swear I counted down the same amount, but clearly I didn't. And anyways, and then so my plan for these is to put them on a 24-inch circular needle and do 2 at a time for the toes. So I have the minis caked separately into 2 minis, or 2 of each color, so that I can work 2 at a time for the toes and the heels, because why not be done with one sock at this? I mean, it takes you twice as long, but then both socks are done at the same time. So I'll do the toes and then I'll cut in the heels and see how the toes go 2 at a time, and then if it's worth doing the heels 2 at a time, because the heels are really just another toe when you do afterthought heels. So these are Sea Glass is the name of this yarn. What I love about Polka Dot Creek, and most self-striping sock dyers do this, but Polka Dot Creek doesn't have they have these like speckled ones as well. Because they have their herb blocker, they can quick tube up a sample, and so on most of their self-striping and their speckled sets have a picture of what it looks like knitted up, so it kind of gives you a better. Sometimes it's hard in the skein, especially for self-striping, because of the way they're hanked up. The colors are kind of mismatched. You got to look kind of close to see what colors they actually are, and like you don't get a good sense of like how thick each of the stripes are and all of those kinds of things. So anyways, I am on a self-striping sock kick, and I will not stop till I'm ready. And then I'll find something else. Okay. Plans. Let's do plans, and then we'll do haul, and then we can go. I already talked about FFOs. I have a Post-it note in here of all of the FFOs I need to do. And that's partly why I'm struggling cleaning up my craft room, is because I have all of these like finishes sitting ready to be finished that I haven't finished, and I don't want to put them away because then I'll never finish them. I mean, I will eventually, but the chance of finishing them is less if they're like not in my face. So my Prairie Thriller Christmas Eve, I finished quite a while ago. I have the frame. I just need to lace it. My Wild and Whimsy Bear, the mini that I did, that was a Weekend One Stitch North freebie from Darling and Whimsy and Brennan Needle. I think I want to make that into a needle book. So now that I've been stitching with those little tiny, I don't have a needle book, and I've been stitching with the little tiny beading needle, the size 12 beading needles. I need a needle book. I have, because I mostly stitch with Sullivan, I keep like my Sullivan sorted into little box, like the Sullivan hard plastic cases fit in one of the slots in my hand and lock case. If I cut the taggy hanging, the part where that you hang them on, you know what I mean? So just the actual box fits really nicely. So I cut that part off, and then I have a little box for each of the sizes, and it fits in my nice little spot in my hand and lock case. But like the size 13 beading needles came in like this little like needle packet, like 25 in a pack from Amazon. No, not from Amazon. I got those from Hoop and Frame. I did find a 4 or 5 pack on Amazon, but those other, like the cardboard with the like the cheapy plastic, like I don't love those. So needless to say, I want a needle book, but then like I don't want just a needle book. Like I want a needle book that has like a page for each kind of needle so I can keep them all organized and know what they are, because I'm not going to remember what they are once they're all mixed in together. So I have to figure out what I want that needle book to look like. But I'm thinking maybe I can make that into a needle book instead of something else that I don't have finished yet. And that would be a fun thing. The question would be, where's it going to fit? If I finish it, will it go in my hand and lock case? Because I think it's a little bit bigger than what I would have space. Anyways, you don't need to know that. Maybe a needle book, to be determined. Toonies, these 20 stitches. That was on Cedar River linen. It's that like beautiful red cedar color with my Brennan needle floss, like that beautiful like hand painted variegated floss from a few times ago, or maybe last time. That one needs a finish, but I haven't figured out. I bought it when I finished my Seaside Tiny Town that I showed last time. I bought another piece that I thought would work for the toonies, but it isn't quite like enough, the same amount of space side to side as top to top. So I could probably make it work, but I don't know if I want to. I kind of want to finish it how Dee has it in the pattern, which is in and I think how I watched, go check out Jody, Trixie Tricycles, Flosstube. She's the owner and dyer of Cedar River Linen, and met her at Stitch North. Wonderful person, beautiful dyer. She is also now stitching toonies, and she has the frame, the hoop. So I think that's what I'm going to do, which I'm not typically a hoop finisher. Like I like the structure of frames, but I think for this piece it makes sense. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards now. I can't see myself doing like a flat finish that's a oval and like nailing that. Like that's like, it's even harder than doing a circle to try and get an oval that's like the right shape for the proportions of the piece, like, and then cutting it in a perfect not circle. Forget about it. Like I'm gonna fail. So I don't think that's the finish for me. But anyways, I gotta figure out like what size hoop I need and how to figure that out when it's an oval and not a circle. My forest sampler I showed last time that I had finished, and I was just waiting for Liz Matthews. It's hello from Liz Matthews. I was waiting for her to show her finish. So I have all of the things that I need except for what I'm actually going to put it in. She did have some recommendations for some frames you can buy on Amazon. They're like document license type frames. But I want to see what I have here. So I didn't buy anything yet. So I don't know if I'll have the supplies to finish that this weekend or not. But all I really have to do is, once I know, like, well, okay, starting over. So what I have to do is cut out all of the little pieces from their linen with like the right amount of border edge around, the number of threads around them. And then once I do that, I can kind of have an idea of how much space those things are going to take up. And then I can figure out what size piece I want to put them on. And then I have cork fabric as my background. So I can get started on that finish, but I might not be able to fully finish it. Whatever, you know what I mean? And then my Stitcher's heart. I think that should be fairly straightforward. It's just a heart-shaped pillow. I have plenty of fabric, hopefully something that I'll love that will match. And I think with that, the key will be, do I have the trim that I want to use for it that matches the colors in it? So that's a big question mark, and we'll see. But my fabric store is not that far away to take that there and find something. Or I could do beaded. I could do a beaded edge. That would be kind of fun, and a new challenge. Would take probably a while, but it would be fun. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll bead it. So those are my plans for FFOs. I kind of have talked about, I really want to focus on like 1 or 2 projects. So I really enjoy Hilda. So I've been trying to just do a little bit of Hilda a day at least. It's hard to put her down once I start, but I don't know why it's so recentering. Probably because I have to concentrate so hard, but like in a good way. The pattern is easy. So I'm not concentrating on where to stitch. It's a monochrome piece. It's pretty straightforward. But I think the concentrating on like where the needle goes is like the right amount of concentration to just kind of like decompress and get all of the not crazy, but just get all of the stuff out of my head. Sock Week, July 9th starts. That's a Knitting Natty event that she puts on. I think you finish 1 sock is 1 point. And then I think if you finish the pair, it's more points, and then you're entered for prizes. It's just kind of a fun challenge. So I plan on doing that, but I can't start a new set of socks. I can't start that set of socks until next Sunday. Saturday night at midnight or Sunday. I probably won't stay up. So these socks will get worked on until then, off and on, around stitching and FFOs and cleaning my craft room. And then if I have time, I'll probably start another set of I really enjoyed those snow cone socks. It's my first set of self-striping socks that I've hand knit myself and not just done the heels and toes from a tube. And they're great. Like, I think you do a couple rows and then you're like, where's my next color? And it's really like, because it switches it up, it's really motivating to keep going. And then I talked about my Sampler September mini skein pack and the extra skein of yarn, 100-gram skein that I got, that I got from Timber Yarns. I have caked all of those flosses, all of those yarns up earlier this week, and I have like 4 or 5 rows of a swatch for those done. The Timber yarn is a little bit thinner of a fingering than the Polka Dot Creek yarn, so and thinner than Emma's yarn, which is what I knit my last rocket tee with, so I gotta check my gauge. And my rocket tee I finished was a little I don't know if I showed that actually, because I finished it right before I left. I finished my rocket tee. It's tighter, it fits, but it fits. It's supposed to fit with like 6 inches of negative ease, and it fits. It's like 0 ease, so which is fine. But I want this one to be a little bit more flowy, so I'm gonna try and gauge again. I gauged last time, but I cut corners. I didn't gauge a full number of rows that I should have, and I didn't finish blocking it. And I assumed that I would knit, that it would stretch more than I think it did after blocking. And I also didn't measure myself. I just guessed at what my measurements were. That was probably where I went wrong. I think I picked the wrong size. So we're going to do everything right because it's a lot of work. So anyways, I'm swatching with the purple because the purple from my mini skein doesn't quite match the 100-gram skein. It's just slightly off because they're different dye lots, which is normal. So I'm using that skein, the small mini skein, to do my swatch, and then I'll block it and know what size I need and then get started on that, because like Caroline said last night in her Between Two Whips video with Carrie, it doesn't count because it's not the sock. The mini skeins aren't the sock set. So it doesn't count. I'm not cheating starting early. I just know that I can't knit a tee, knit socks, and stitch a sampler in September. Like, I mean, I could, but I have to work. So would I sleep? I have to sleep. So anyways, and then like I talked about, getting my craft room under control, because we're getting to the point where like things need homes, and it's like you have to clean to work, but then you work and make a mess, and then it's like never done. So we're gonna get there. Haul. We gotta talk about haul. So I'm gonna talk about this first just to get it out of the way. I recently discovered Susan Stanley. Laura and Brenda for the Brenda and Laura, the serial starter, have been talking about her for a while. You need to go watch Susan Stanley. And I didn't listen. And then I finally did. And they were right. And I was wrong. And she is one of those people that I have gone back a little bit and watched some of her older videos. I could see myself going back and watching like from the beginning, because she has interesting projects and she has a great presence on her videos and all of those things. She also just talks a lot about the history and why things are the way they were, and she does all this research, and then she makes me want to buy, and then I do buy books about like the books that she uses as reference, and it's just all very interesting. And so I was on vacation, I had my alarm set, and I was able to get a First Stitches box. So they went on sale last Thursday, so a little over a week ago. When I checked out, there were 22 left. It was one of those situations like the red box, the Letters from Europe box, where I didn't know that I had even officially checked out till I got the email that I had checked out, because the site was a little bit buggy. Not Susan's fault. It was because so many people were trying to get the box. There is still pre-order available, and I was just watching Susan's video before I started filming today, and it's going to take a little bit of time for her to gradually fill the orders, but if you want a box that's kitted by her, you can do that. She also said like you can participate in any capacity just watching the videos, or you can use your own supplies. So I did get the box. I'm super excited. It came with, I think I might have talked about Susan in my last video. Maybe, I don't remember. Did I talk about thread papers? I think I might have talked about thread papers last time. So there's a little bit of information about what's in the bag. There's her little scrap bag that's meant to like hold your project, and then all the pieces and parts inside. I did open up and I looked at all my little pieces. Susan does an unboxing or an unbagging, so you can see what's all included. I haven't opened the fabric yet because I want to do that like when it's time to start. I've been really itching to start. And she just said in her last video that came out today that the first tutorial will be up on July 10. So we don't have that much longer to wait, which I'm very excited about. She did include a piece of laid paper, which looks just like the laid paper I purchased from Amazon. So that was exciting to know that I was like on the right track. I'm hoping we get to use it for some of our floss that's in here, even though they're on spools. And yeah, I'm really excited to start this. Yeah, so check it out. If that's something that you think you might be interested in. It's if you don't know about it, it is a kit that is meant to teach us and kind of have us experience what a young girl who was ready to learn to sew in the 1840s would have experienced. So it's, scraps that would have mimicked what her mother may have had in her sewing basket as scraps. And then the first project that was often started by them would be like items for their dolls to like motivate them to stitch. So this is a doll quilt with like 1840s-ish reproduction fabric. And like all hand stitching, which I'm really excited to do. I know how to quilt, but to like cut it out with scissors and not a rotary cutter with a template, and to measure my seams, and just, I can't even imagine how we're going to do this, but I'm really excited to learn how to do it by hand and like piece it the way like quilts were originally pieced. And along with that, I don't have my sewing basket, but I wanted to put together like a sewing basket, and Susan showed this book a couple videos ago when she talked about her sewing basket, because in chapter 2 it talks about the things that belong in your work basket. And these are really interesting books. They have ones for knitting and gardening and cooking, but they're like, it's stories about a little girl, Mary Frances, and her like these imaginary people, and like this story is the story of her like learning to sew. So these people, I think these imaginary things, like she through this story learns to sew. So it talks about like all the different stitches, and I just got this today actually, and there's different projects in here that kind of go along with the story. But anyways, so pins, beeswax, a tape measure, a pair of scissors, a paper of needles. They're ground down needles. I don't know what that means. Number 5s and through 10. Some unbleached muslin and a thimble. Oh, I missed it. A strawberry emery bag to brighten and sharpen needles, and spools of cotton in all the different weights, which is really fun. Like it names all the weights that you should have in a spool of basting cotton. So when it talks about, there's more information here about the different kinds of needles and stuff. So, and how to make a knot. So I thought this book would be really fun to just kind of look at and breeze through. It was written... This specific version was published in 1997, but it was originally, I'm trying to find where it was originally published in 1913. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what that's like and learn a little bit more about that history. Okay, let's set this aside, and I'm really excited to start. I was actually a little like, she's gonna announce when, and then it was like July 10th, and I was like, that's a Monday, like I'm gonna have to work all day and then rush home and watch the video. It'll be okay. I will get over it. Along with so I ordered a shaker tray, not a basket because it doesn't have a lid, but one of those like divided shaker trays with a little handle in the middle from Hobby House. Turns out the one that I ordered was back ordered, which is fine. I can wait for it. But when I ordered that, now I like threw away the thing and I don't know what this is called. So it's got like a stiletto or like a thing to like push corners and stuff on this side. And like a press, this is for pressing. So you would like have your seam and you would use, like rub the wood along it to press. You could also use this for paper. So it would work really well when I do my thread papers. So this is gonna go in my work basket. And I think you could use it as it might be a little wide, but you could maybe use it as a stiletto for when you're like trying to lay or a laying tool, I should say, when you're stitching. Okay, I have more haul. So I went on vacation. I went on vacation to the Virginia Beach, Greater Hampton Roads area, and then we went to the Outer Banks to the beach for the week. And stayed in a house down there with my family, my extended family. It was great. It was really great spending time with all of my family. More great than spending time with my family is watching my daughter spend time with her cousins and aunts and uncles and grandmother. Like that's where a lot of the joy of spending time with family comes from, is watching her make memories with them and making memories with them as well. But so before we left for the Outer Banks, my family was gracious enough to humor me with a trip to Dying to Stitch. My mom came with me, and then we met up and went to Bay Local. If you're ever in the Virginia Beach area, you have to eat at Bay Local. It's delicious. They have really fun, fancy drinks and mimosas. They're only open for breakfast and lunch, so don't expect to go there for dinner. They have several locations. Not sponsored by Bay Local, but it's a great experience if you can make it out there. So we all left together. They went to one of my favorite coffee slash breweries, Cova, which is in Norfolk, it's actually in Oceanside in the Norfolk area. And they have a coffee bar. They make, and my favorite drink there is a Norfolk Fog, which is coffee and Earl Grey. So it's like Earl Grey flavored coffee. Highly recommend. And I think with lavender, maybe? Not sure. And then they have taps that are self-serve. So they brew their own beer there and cider, and they have taps, and you buy a card, you get a card from them, and like that's basically your tab, and you like put your card in the little slot, and then you fill up the glass. You flip your glass upside down and clean it out in the little like washer thing, and then you like pour your whatever you want, and then you go drink it, and then you get more. So it's really fun. I didn't go. They went there while I went to Dying to Stitch. It was a worthwhile sacrifice. I've been there a few times, but didn't get to go this trip, and that's okay. So what did I get at Dying to Stitch? So first of all, I got this cute little embroidered pillow that says Dying to Stitch that I'm going to put somewhere. And then they like glued a little needle in there. And I brought home a little bit of beer in my not my carry-on. They wouldn't let me do that. In my checked bag. And one of the cans of cider, the only can of that flavor, the cider that I brought home, exploded in my bag, and it got on. Luckily, this is all it got on was that little corner. I tried rinsing it, but I didn't want to do too much. So it's okay. Like, it's barely noticeable, but it didn't get on my linen. Thank goodness. It got on my clothes. From what I could tell when I washed everything, it all came out with the exception of one project bag. The little, like, I have an Evertote, like the little accessory pouch that comes with their project bags. It was cream mostly, and like that's purple. Like that took the brunt for whatever reason of the cider explosion. I put them in a Ziploc, but somehow the Ziploc broke too. It might have been my placement of my scroll rods next to the cans of beer. Like maybe those two sharp edges and thin aluminum cans, maybe they don't actually go together in close proximity, but it happened, and I have done it before and I have not had a spill. So lesson learned, maybe not. There's a brewery that I absolutely love that I did get a chance to go to while we were in that area. It's actually at Fort Monroe, on the inland side of the bay, and those they're smoothie beers. They're made with lactose and they have fruit puree in them. They're so good. Like, it sounds gross, but trust me that it's good. Those few cans that I brought home did make it unscathed, so they're in my fridge for the right moment. But anyways, back to Dying to Stitch. Sorry. So they had a fairly decent collection of Lady Dot finishing things, and so they had some of her velveteen, and I just, when you buy it online, you don't quite know what the colors are, so I just thought it would be fun to grab a few of the colors to have for finishing. I do want to make a tomato, so I'm thinking I might make a red tomato. And then I wonder too, I don't know if they're 18 by 10, so I don't know if they'll be big enough, but I think if they are big enough, I might use one for my Stitcher's Heart finish for the pillow, the back of the pillow. I think it would be fun to have the velveteen. And let's see. So Dying to Stitch in Virginia Beach is the home of R&R Reproductions, the home of Barb's Blend, among other very popular colors. So I was able to get a 46 count quarter yard of Barb's Blend. Very subtle modeling, and in this light you can't really tell. I have my blinds down, but it's really pretty. And I was looking, because I was on small stitching kick, I was looking for little fabric, little, you know what I mean, little stitching. So 46 count, and I really don't need lighter, like I have so much linen, I don't really need bigger count. And then they had 56 count. They had a few 56 count pieces. And this cut, she didn't have, like, she had a big cut of 46. So I just said, give me a stitcher's quarter. And then this one, we didn't quite know what the size was. So I said, give me what you have. If it's not quite a quarter, whatever, that's fine. And then I walked away so she could do her work while I was still looking. And it's 19 by 25. So it's a big boy for the 56 count, right? Because you can stitch a lot on 19 by 25 inches of 56 count linen. As a whole lot of stitching. So, and this one is Cafe au lait. So it's like a nice neutral. It's still not quite the right color. Right there is close. It's like a tan, like a warm tan. So yes, those are gorgeous. And what else did I get there? Okay, so I've been thinking about, I'm not going to start this. Famous last words. I have fallen in love with Summer Quaker. One of my table mates and stitching friends started this at Stitch North while we were there. It's charted with DMC. There's a lot of colors here. It's a big girl. It's 267 by 216. It's 11.5 by 9 3/8 on 46 count. Okay, I was going to say, if it's an R&R fabric, I was going to like follow her because I literally didn't look at that when I was there. So I wanted to have it because I thought it would be a good memory of buying it at Dying to Stitch. And then I realized when I got home, not home, but like back to my brother's, that Leela's Studio sells PDFs. And this is a huge piece. And why wouldn't I have bought the PDF so that I could put it on Pattern Keeper? But it's okay. It's fine. I might end up, if as big as it is, I might buy it twice. Buy it on PDF too so that I have it. But I did not kit that. I just bought the pattern. And then I bought 2 more patterns. I've looked at it several times on her website. I finally caved and I bought Katie Strachan's conversion pre-order. It was like a pre-order, like her, the amount that she had left was like initially was gone. And so I ordered the pre-order. It actually shipped this week for me, of the Stacey Nash Big Blue House Pin Keep. So her pieces her kits come with the floss from her conversion and the linen. There may be a little bit of finishing, I can't remember, but it doesn't come with the pattern. So I had to buy the pattern. So I have a pattern for that. And then this coming week, I don't remember what day, but I have an alarm set. Katie is releasing her other conversion with 103s or swa. It's actually a different swa, Overa swa weight floss. She is releasing Santa Stops Here by Brenda Gervais with Honey and Thread. So I bought this pattern because I need that for her conversion as well. And that will come with like everything I needed. I think it comes with the beads and the linen. And so I set my alarm to order that. And I think she's also doing pre-orders in case, whatever. So I took hoping that I would go to Dying to Stitch. I did take a few patterns with me that I wanted to kit up. So this is not, the pattern is not new to me, but the kit is, I guess the rest of it is. So this is Get Crackin'. So funny story, not funny, not really funny. I want to stitch this for my husband, and I think it's kind of fun. It's like this make-believe story about the Kraken that took down some Dutch sailors, but it's actually not like a real story. Anyways, I kitted this piece on Saturday and I kitted it up on Sunday, and I don't know when we knew about Seagate, but it was after I kitted this up. And then I didn't start it because I was working on other things, but I also didn't start it because I was like, is it too soon? Anyways, but I was so excited to kit this up because it calls for Gloriana silk. So I kitted it up with the called for, with the exception of 2. Dying to Stitch didn't have 2 of the Glorianas, so I kitted it with some MPIs instead that were a close match to the DMC color. I went to it's called for Gloriana or DMC, so I went to the DMC and then I found the MPI that matched, if that makes sense. So I use some of the 46 count Barb's blend. I need to serge it because I didn't have a serger there. I even put a needle. Oh yeah, I even put a needle in it. And then I never started it, but I kitted it with my thread paper pieces so that you can kind of get an idea of like what a stack of thread papers would look like. So they're all folded individually, and I used a few of the extra pieces. I had to get like the right length to fit well in the thread paper. My winder was a little long that I brought with me, so I used my tablet as my floss winder, and it worked fairly well. And then I had just like the tiny little extras because it wasn't quite the perfect length. And so I used those to tie the thread papers together. So, and then I labeled each one. So I'll be able to kind of like lift. I mean, the colors are separate. My hair is in there. The colors are different enough that I'll be able to tell, but I'll be able to see in there and kind of make sure that I have the right color. And then you just use your needle like you would on a flash strap to pull just one strand out and the rest of them stay. So I'm mostly excited to start this project so I can use my thread papers. I've actually thought about thread papering my Turkish Delight. The flosses are a little long because they're cut with an 18-inch. I don't know, I'd have to do the math to see if they would fit well in the thread paper as is, or if I cut them in half. Because it's 46 count, I really don't need really long strands of floss for 46 count projects, especially, remember, it's Rosewood Manor. You don't do a lot of stitches with one color before it's time to switch to something else, right? So I probably could make them a little shorter. Anyways, so that was kitted at Dying to Stitch, and I want to start that at some point. I don't know when, but my thread papers are lovely, and I had to show you them. Okay, and then I did, it's not in my bucket, but I took with me my out of print unicorn chart of Blackbird Designs Winter Wonderland. And I kitted it up with the color. Ooh, I thought it was going to come with the bag, but I guess it's better to show you not in the bag. With the called for flosses. Mostly, I did have to buy a few weeks, but mostly Gentle Arts and Classic Colorworks. So that can be a Christmas start, but or not a Christmas start, but a start for holiday stitching. I don't know though, because I want to finish, it's my goal to finish Hibernation Day. And I haven't been working on it. I didn't work on it again this month on the 24th or 25th because I was gone and I didn't take it with me. So I need to get on that. So I don't think even though it's kitted, I don't think I'll start it until I get Hibernation Day done or further along. And also, like, I want to do some ornaments. But, okay, we got to keep moving. This is, like, forever long. I just missed you all so much. I have so much to tell you. So, tiny stitching. I went to Dying to Stitch with this like tiny stitching bug, and I was hoping that they would have some 5363. They did not, because it seemed like they only carried R&R, which was totally fine. From the very quick glance at their fabric area, I only knew that they had R&R, and this was what I showed you was the smallest count they had. They had a couple cuts or different colors, but those were the ones I picked. And needless to say, I wanted some 5363 because I wanted to try it. Technically, it's even smaller-ish, right? Because it's uneven and it's like more true to the antique samplers because they stitched on uneven linen, but before they had machines to make linen. So I went to Hoop and Frame where I got my beading needles, first tiny stitching, and I got a cut fat 1/8, which is 18 by 29. So these linens must be wider because a fat 1/4 is usually around 18 by 29-ish. So a fat 1/8 of Sycamore Sea Pod by Legacy and a fat 1/8 of Gothic Ivory by Legacy. And again, like they're really fat 1/4. They're the equivalent of what we know as fat 1/4s for 36 or 40 count. And yeah, I'm excited to try those. I wonder, now that I'm holding them in my hand, These would be really fun to do as my, I want to stitch a marking sampler for my basket, my sewing basket, like Susan has. So it might be kind of fun to do it on a period, more like period linen. Probably, I'm thinking, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do. Ellen, Maximum Cross Stitch, she came out with Angel Armel, that reproduction. It's a red reproduction a couple months ago, and I saw it on the Evertoast website yesterday and fell in love with it and like couldn't find it for a hot second and had to figure it out, and I googled it and figured out, oh, of course it's Ellen's. Like, what? Of course it's Ellen's. So like the letters in it are just so beautiful. There's a lot of back stitching. I almost bought the PDF. I waited because, I mean, I waited. But there's also that one, it's beautiful, but it's not like as marking sampler-ish as one where there's like lots of different fonts. So I have the Kitten Stitchers 2 books, Humble Hands and Red Letter Day. So I'm thinking maybe from one of those marking samplers is what I would pick, but we'll see. Who knows? I don't even know, because like no decision is made until you start. So, and even then it's up for interpretation. Okay, we're almost done. Promise. This is why we're doing our whip parade separate, because we'd be here forever. So I talked a little bit about Sock Week, and as a part of Sock Week, Natalie kind of works with different makers for different things for Sock Week, and I was able to get Sock Island, which is a self-striping sock yarn, and so it's 100 grams with a mini, and it is 75% wool, 25% nylon. It's her strong sock, and this is from Nicole Mendez, who lives in Germany. So this came to me from Germany. The shop is on Etsy. While I was there, I ended up buying her Christmas Advent stripe set. I think it's only, like, it's not like a whole big Christmas Advent thing. I don't need that. But I think it is like a 24 stripe sock set. I think. I don't know. I bought it because I had to have it when I went. So these are the Sock Week. And they match like the theme of Sock Week, which is sort of like a spin on Shark Week. I haven't confirmed, but I'm pretty sure it's during Shark Week. And so these are going to be my socks. So I need to cake these up before I put that away in my craft room when I'm cleaning up. And like 100 grams will get me a lot of socks if I want to knit them all, because it'll get me a shorty sock set and my kiddo whatever size she wants, and then who knows what else there'll be extra. And then I already mentioned this, these are my purchases from Polka Dot Creek, because my daughter had to have, I don't want to lose these down here. Here are my size 12 25 pack of John James short beading needles, size 12, tapestry pointed. They're amazing for small stitching. I never thought I'd say that about anything that didn't have a ball tip on it, but it works for that linen. And Katie she said it's easy if you have the right tools, and the right tools for this are, and so I said, okay, like, you seem to know what you're talking about because you stitch beautiful pieces. I'm going to trust you. And I was right for trusting her. She also doesn't, she also says that you shouldn't use the sewing method because your stitches don't lay right, which is probably, I 100% agree, it's hard with the smaller stitching. I still use the sewing method. So Katie, you haven't convinced me completely, but like, there's like the right way, I guess, and then there's like the my right way. So that's fine, but definitely agree with that assessment of her having the right tools to get the job done. All right, so this is my Polka Dot Creek. Oh, it tells me the colors. Cherry and peach are these two colors. The second, like the mystery, that's not a mystery anymore. So this is my second set for my daughter. And then I think what I might do is, I'm thinking about like recaking this one so that it's half and half and it starts at the same spot, so that I know how much of this I have. Am I making sense? So that they can be as long as she wants them to be, potentially. So I know when I can stop and still have enough for the next sock. And then they had this other color. They think it's a part of their ice cream collection, because it has this like the cone color, waffle cone color mini that goes with it. I don't think I'll use I don't think I'll use waffle cone for the mini. It's a great neutral color. I think I'll do something that kind of goes better with, not better, but just has the vibe of the fluorescent. Anyways, words are getting hard. I should be done. I wanted to, because I was, again, worried my daughter would want a tall sock with this one because it's so fun, and I wouldn't have enough for both of us with 50 grams. So I have these, and these ones are really fun. What I like about these, and Polka Dot Creek, I know there's other dyers that do this too. So they're like solid or tonal stripes, and then there's a lighter color that is speckled. So like there's like a light pink that's speckled. You can kind of see right in there the speckling in that one stripe. So one stripe will have speckling, which is fun. Another extra dimension. So I'm excited. I don't know if I'll cake those up because I have some other stuff caked. But I like the 50 gram. The other reason why I want to split is I like the 50 gram or smaller cakes fit in really well in my Emerson crossbody bag. So I can stick them in there with everything else that I carry around, and then I can, like, when I just have a hot second, I can like stitch it up, and with my 9-inch circulars, everything fits in there nice and compact, and I can just mindlessly stitch in a spiral until I have enough. And then I did, because I spent enough money, I did get another Borderline Knit in Public bag. Not because I bought the set. I bought the set without the extras in it, but because I spent enough money because I had to get the bubblegum. So I have an extra knitting bag, which is great. And then I hadn't seen these on their site before. It's called a Hissy Knit Notion Kit, and they had a few different colors. I had not seen them before. It looks like they have an Instagram and an email, this company. These are like recycled. They have that like recycled plastic feel, like that European, or not recycled, but like the biodegradable plastic. Do you know what I'm talking about? That you see like at IKEA. And it's like a little notion kit. The only thing that I don't think I'll be able to fit in here is my crochet hook that I carry with me. So it's got a side with little containers to put like your different notions in, mostly different types of stitch markers usually, right? And then it's got this like fold out piece that will fit a tiny pair of scissors if you so want, or whatever other tiny things you want to put in here, like slightly both larger tiny things, and then these like wider areas. And then even like, I think either in here or in here, I will probably put like little tiny balls. I don't know if I don't have any with, oh, I do. Nope, this is not the right case. So, when you use a sock tube, you have to like use, a lifeline or like a piece of, scrap yarn to like, you don't have to, you can just put the needle right in there, but like to save your stitches when you separate the tubes. And if you don't want to like hold up a pair of needles, you just use a darn, and it's a little bit easier. You use a darning needle and a piece of scrap yarn. And me being the weirdo that I am and like can't just throw away these lengths of yarn, I have been keeping them with like my knitting stitch markers and stuff in my tins that I've been using, so that I have them again when I need them again, or if I like have a little tiny length, like if I, I'm finishing off something and I have extra and it's long enough to be used as for that purpose, then I'll like put it in a little tiny ball and I'll stick it. Like I'm even saving like the waste yarn at the top of the sock tubes that like it's not even like really for like good knitting. Don't ask me. I don't know why. Like there's some, like I'm usually, I don't know. There's just some things and it's my crafting supplies. Like adjusting the width of my borders to like, not because I don't have enough of the cut of linen that I need, but because if I make the borders a little bit smaller, then I can turn the piece the other way and then it like fits up and then it leaves way more real estate. Like that quilting, like the, like how to, like when, like how quilters do, when you like try to make sure you cut your fabric in a way that conserves it, like that has like bled into my saving little pieces of yarn to use them as lifelines in my sock tubes. Anyways, so that's a lot all to say. Some of these little containers will be, little areas will be nice for that, because sometimes I knit them into, like there's enough that I can like put them in a cute little ball. And sometimes there's not enough and it's just this like little wad that like is really cute when I put it in there, and then it floats around for a while and then it becomes a ball of mess. So I'm excited to employ this in my knitting. I don't know, it might be a little big for my purse along with everything else that's in there. I have a little like pill tin thing with like a metal one with like the two little pockets for my stitch markers, and then I just shoved a little one of those little short crochet hooks into my purse as well, so that when you have a mishap like I had in the car one night where my 9-inch circular knitting needle snapped, the wire snapped while I was stitching, and I like lost like 4 or 5 live stitches, and then everything was like hanging there, and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And my mom was sitting next to me, and I was like, here, take this. And so I like shoved my my thing of stitch markers. I was like, open these for me. And so she opened, because I forgot that I had my little crochet hook. So she opened them for me, and then I like kind of snagged a few at a time, because it's not like I could just like move them back on my needle. I had like a cord on one side and like the needle that had, you know, this short little tiny needle that was full of live stitches. So I like kind of like piecemealed and then like shoved stuff, and then like everything that was on that needle I moved to like the other side of the circular needle, the other needle, and then like kind of put it back in my purse in a way that I could hope that I didn't lose any more stitches until I could get it home. And then like as soon as we got home, I had brought extra circulars with me, so I like put it on a new needle, and then I emailed the company. It was my really, I mean, comparatively expensive, oh, I lost it now. They're sitting over here. My new box is sitting over there. Signature Needle Art 9-inch needles that came highly recommended by both Caroline from Evertote and the Crazy Sock Lady. And I was like, oh no. So I emailed them and I was like, hey, this is what happened. Like, I haven't even really used them that long. And they were like, yep, don't even worry about sending the old ones back. Like, I sent them a picture of what it had happened. Like, in a panic while they were actually, I lied. I emailed them before I even got home. Like, I sent them a picture of like my salvage stitching and with the needles on there. And they were like, yep, no problem. We're sorry it happened. We're putting needles in the mail for you tomorrow in the morning. So they responded very quickly, even over the weekend. Well, it was weekendish, and hooked me up. I got home and I had new 9-inch circulars. So that was really great. They clearly have a good warranty. I don't know how much of it snapped right at the needle. So I don't know how much of it was the way that I knit, and I need to think about how I knit, and not like death grip those little 9-inch circulars, or if it was a manufacturing defect, or both. But either way, they made it right, which really makes them a great value. I do, when I put my Addy 9-inch circulars on my Addy, they're not the zings. I didn't love them as much as my Signature Needle Art ones, so they were fine. But that connection between the wire and the needle, in my opinion, is a little bit better on the Signature needles. And when you're a tight knitter like I am, that makes a difference in like how you can move, because you're not constantly like shoving your caught stitches onto the needle. You can get in a phone, it goes better. So I'm working on not death gripping my needles and not knitting quite so tight. We'll get there. Okay. Hopefully I will see you back for Whip Parade. Thanks for hanging with me for an hour and a half. I'm sorry I was so chatty, but I've just missed catching up with you all. I hope you're all well. You have a good holiday weekend, and you're safe wherever you are. And until next time, take care. Bye.